cellular phones or mobile devices, if you'd turn those off, please. My name is Ann Lippman, and I am the Community Development Director, and I am the chairperson of this committee. Anyone who addresses the committee, please make sure all your comments are directed to me. And at this time, I will ask all my fellow committee members to turn on their microphones and introduce themselves, and we will get started with our business today.
I'm Lori Ashmore, Director of the Water System.
George Jones, Director, Paulding County Department of Transportation.
Bruce Coyle, County Engineer.
Frank Baker, County Administrator.
And we also have Jason Phillips, our county attorney, and from Planning and Zoning, we have Mark Long and Leah Wilson here to help us today. Our first agenda item is review of the minutes from the June 15th, 2021 meeting. If everyone has had a chance to look at those, if there are no corrections or additions, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Mr. Jones and a second from Ms. Ashmore. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. There are no oppositions. The motion carries unanimously. Our first case today is case number 2021-06-W. It is application by Michael Whitman requesting a waiver of a right and left turn lane required under current county development regulations for a new commercial development accessing a county road. Property is located in land lot 20, District 2, Section 3, located at 1212 Industrial Boulevard North, and it is located in Post 4. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, if you'd like to come up and make your presentation.
Do I need to sign in?
Yes, please. And if you'll just state your name and address all your comments to me.
Is the application number the 2021-06-W?
Yes.
So I applied for a permit to get another driveway on my property, and they said that I needed a right-left turn lane. So I got a traffic study that says there's not enough traffic on the road to warrant it. I brought a traffic engineer, had a study done.
Okay. Do any of the members of the committee have any questions for the applicant?
How is the trip distribution calculated for this development?
That would be her.
So I'm representing the company that did the traffic study, so Southeastern Engineering. My name is Mary Thamadi. So the trip generation, the distribution was done. We did a collected traffic volumes in the area, looked at what the similar traffic patterns were to see, what our distribution was to kind of determine what that was for the generation. What we actually did was looked at two different types of uses. We looked at mini high, like cube warehousing, or like the parking spaces, because it is going to just be for that lot. And we did a conservative estimate and determined how many vehicles would be traveling in, how many would be taking a left in, how many would be taking a right in, and we looked at the traffic network in the area to determine the distribution.
Which roads in particular?
Oh, yeah, we looked at Dallas Ackworth Highway, we looked at the Industrial Boulevard, we looked at the other two roads I'm blanking on the names right now, right beside that as well. So those 4 roads in that area. We also looked at, and one of the other things we looked at was looking at the volumes. We made sure that the volumes now were considering, the different changes that have been happening because of COVID, volumes being different. So we actually compared it to historical GDOT data and made sure that those were in line with what we'd expect to see in the future.
What is the proposed use of the property? What's it going to be used for?
Storage lot.
It's a storage lot, so.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
I've got a question on your stormwater pond.
Okay.
see you've got a big detention pond back there, and I assume it's in good shape.
Yes.
You have no intention of filling it in, you intend on maintaining it?
Well, there's an existing pond for the two uses I have now, but there's another one we're going to build for the new lot.
You're gonna build a new one?
Correct.
For the grading of the new lot?
Yes,
And submit for a land disturbance permit?
yes.
One question additionally, I see that looks like there's a fence, proposed 8-foot-high chain link fence with electronic gate.
Yes.
That's going to be closed all the time and only accessible, or
It's going to be closed, and I was going to leave enough room for a vehicle to queue inside the property, not in the road.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. I think we need to have probably, what do you think, Bruce, two vehicles?
I was going to leave 100 feet.
Your intention is, that parking lot is to park vehicles, trailer, tractor?
Trucks, RVs, I mean, just storage lot. I haven't figured out who I'm going to rent it to, but just like the adjacent.
Might need your gate pulled where you could get a 40-foot or 60-foot vehicle.
So 100 would be sufficient, yes.
100 is what I was planning.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. You probably have about 10 minutes left if there's any need for rebuttal, so if you want to have a seat.
Okay.
At this time, is there anyone else present who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, seems like the public hearing portion of this has concluded. Is there any additional comments from the committee, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this request by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Coyle. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. There are no opposition. This request has been approved unanimously. Our next case today is case number 2021-07-W, application by Irish Group of Investment LLC, Bill Miller, requesting a reduction of PDOT recommended right and left turn decel lane, and also to waive the requirement of the installation of the sidewalk along the right-of-way of Cedar Crest Road. This property is located in land lot 618, District 3, Section 3, located at 875 Cedar Crest Road in Post 4. Is the applicant present?
I've got a couple little drawings of
Okay.
where do you want them.
If you just want to put them up on the table up there.
Also got handouts, I guess, for y'all.
That's fine.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's great, nobody can see me. Okay, if you'd please, when you get ready, just state your name and address all comments to me. And please note that the applicant will have 15 minutes to present your application, and that would include any rebuttal, so.
Don't start
That
clock
fine.
yet then,
Okay.
because I'm still,
Just making you aware.
I'm sorry.
We'll just send them each way.
Ready?
Go.
All right, I'm Joel Hart with Elevations Design Group, and I'm representing the RS Group. Bill Miller is here.
Okay.
But basically, we're looking at a reduction on the left turn lane, right turn lanes from basically the standard Georgia DOT requirement or required lengths. Just feel like it's an undue or too much of a hardship on getting that in, an unnecessary hardship. And also looking at removing the requirement for a sidewalk for that portion of the project. Basically, our thought is if the county's going to come in a few years to revise that road, then the sidewalk that we put in would just be basically torn out. Speaking with the owner of Arish, basically if we don't necessarily have a problem putting the sidewalk in, if you want to push it away from the right-of-way or something for future reference, something that'll stay later on, if that makes any sense. And right now, that's what I got. Basically, what you're looking at is the site distance for the project, and then Exhibit 1 is what the full right turn lane, left turn lanes, their impact. And then the Exhibit 2 is what we're looking to build.
Okay. If you have nothing else to present, at this point, I will open it up to members of the committee, and this time will not count against you.
Okay.
Do you have any other information to provide regarding the requirement of the Development Waiver Review Committee regarding waivers in terms of that granting the modification will not adversely affect the public welfare or nullify the intent of these regulations?
I do not have anything.
Do you know the vehicle count on that road?
We did not do a traffic study on there. Looking at the GDOT numbers, they've got a study on the other end. Actually, I guess they've got two study points, and I think one was 15,000, the other one was 12,000 count. And then on 92, I guess north or south of the intersection, I think it was 12, and on 92 going towards Ackworth, I believe it was 16,000. So I guess the numbers are in that range.
And do you have a tenant? Is this going to be Racetrack, Quick Trip, or do you know? Or independent?
Can you answer that one? Shell.
I'm just curious.
Okay.
What was going on?
It'll be a Shell store. We built one prior.
Sir, could you please state your name?
Bill Miller. It'll be a Shell Corporation, Shell store right there. We also built one over in Hiram. It's a Shell store similarly to this one. It was going to be identical.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right,
You can have a seat right now. At this point, I'll ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this application. If there is no one present who would like to speak in favor of this application, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition or has questions or comments? Please come up, state your name, and address all comments to me. And just like the applicant, there will only be 15 minutes allotted for opposition.
My name is Daniel Walker. I'm going to try to keep this brief. We have a number of residents from the community. I'm going to try to make sure that we all have time to speak. So I live at 286 Sandpiper Path that adjoins the site of the proposed gas station. I'd like to thank the members of the review committee today for hearing my comments. Just to quickly address your question, Mr. Coyle, I have numbers from GDOT that say 12,100 for traffic data directly in front of the gas station site. Again, I'm here with members of my community to oppose this development waiver. So my goal today is to provide some context. We live here, so we see all of the cars that don't obey the speed limit, and we see all of the accidents, even the ones that don't make it into police reports. My neighbor, Richard is right there, created a video that I would like to share with this committee and the audience here today. Is that video able to be shown?
It's available.
Oh, great.
Planning and zoning people will be glad to help you.
Fantastic. So the events in this video took place in March of this year. And again, this takes place directly in front of the gas station. You can see the car loses control and hits the shoulder and rolls over. So I'm a business owner myself, and when I see that video, when I see 2,000 pounds of steel literally hurtling through the air to land directly on top of where my future customers would park, well, if that was my business, the last thing I would be thinking about is an application to reduce the length of my turn lanes. This is a dangerous sight. We get accidents similar to this several times every year. We had another rollover here just last week. There was a fatal accident here last year and a school bus crash in 2018. I've provided each of you with a list of 19 accidents at this site over the last 5 years. The first accident in that list is my own. My neighbor is also in that list. We were both rear-ended, waiting to turn left onto Sandpiper Path. If you take a look at the column labeled collision type, you can see all of the rear-end accidents, which are especially relevant to the turn lane waiver we are discussing today. I was at the public rezoning meeting for this project last year, so I can tell you this developer specifically pursued an upgraded B1 zoning status, which is more permissive than surrounding businesses and allows for larger buildings. Larger buildings means more traffic. The applicant should have longer turn lanes than the surrounding businesses, both of which are zoned NB and correspondingly restricted. If the applicant wants the extra profits associated with the B1 zoning, he needs to follow through and install the upgraded traffic infrastructure necessary to handle those additional customers. The second page of the packet I provided is a bar graph depicting the relative lengths of the turn lane the developer has requested, the state required minimum length, and the GDOT desired length. I've pulled my recommended numbers from GDOT Construction Details M3A, which has both the minimum and desired values. You can see the developer is requesting a dramatic reduction. If you do the math, in order to stop in the 90 feet of turn lane the developer has proposed, you would have to really slam on your brakes. With the history of accidents at this location, I think the public deserves turn lanes closer in length to the recommended values, certainly not shorter than the minimum allowed. Finally, I have an issue with how the entrance taper to the proposed right turn lane intersects the existing driveways there. You can see this on the site plan. That is definitely going to make it difficult for the residents to turn out of their driveways. I wanted to mention very quickly, the applicant has proposed moving the sidewalks back so they're out of the right-of-way. I think that's a fantastic idea. We actually walked my kids to school last year, and it would be really helpful to have a sidewalk there for that purpose. I'm going to turn the floor over to my neighbors, Mr. George Gadbois and Mr. Mark Jenkins. Mark is a retired FBI agent, and George was allegedly the victim of fraudulent misrepresentation in an attempt to acquire an easement for the same right turn lane we're talking about today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, if you could change us back to the map, that would be great.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Mark Jenkins. I live at 104 Sandpiper Path, which is directly adjacent to the building site location. So first off, I kind of wanted, of course, I oppose this, as Daniel does, for safety reasons. Also wanted to bring up the sidewalk. I think the argument on the sidewalk by the builder was stated that in 2 years the road is going to be widened, and that's why they don't want to build the sidewalks. We have no information that that road is going to be widened within the next 10 years based on what is listed in DOT. So I don't know where the 2 years that that road will be widened is coming from, unless you know something different that the residents don't. It was brought up in the last meeting that that road was not on any type of planning or anything to be widened within the next 10 years. So that argument against the sidewalk, I believe, does not fly. So as far as the turn lane, so that's why George and I are up here. So the turn lane, and I know everyone can see on the maps there, but it's called the de-acceleration lane, which would be the right turn lane coming off Cedar Crest going into the Shell station. So that actually goes right across the front of George's property. And when that property was obtained, I believe there was some misrepresentation in obtaining that property. And George can probably talk a little bit more to that. But the document that was put forth was a sewer easement, and it was explained to the landowner that his property would only be dug up for that sewer easement, and then we would be put back to its original shape after that easement was put in. It does not show the de-acceleration. He believed the de-acceleration lane would not be on his property, yet 2 lines within that 3-page document that he really didn't see, and he could testify to that, states that a de-acceleration is being put on his property in exchange for his access to the sewer connection. So I kind of wanted to bring that up to get some clarification on that from both you and George. So I'll let George, from his words, say what happened, who came and told him what, and what he believed he was signing. So I think that plays a little bit in here as far as the property being acquired by the builder.
Hi, my name is George Gadbois. I live at 917 Cedar Crest Road, adjacent to the gas station, or proposed gas station. Back in early part of the year, probably middle of January, whatever, I was approached by Deborah Seaver about signing a a sewer easement. And at that time, I wasn't sure, so I told her I'd call her back and stuff. So I did call her and stuff, but I said I wasn't sure what the proposal was going to be. And she said she would get in touch with the group and set up a meeting with me. So I went to the meeting and stuff, which is next door and stuff, and they basically told me what was going to go, except they didn't mention easement for a right-of-way. For a deceleration lane. Told me it was going down to the bottom of my driveway, that they would replace anything that they dug up in the driveway. Well, I called Miss Seaver back. I said, yeah, I'll try to help somebody. But after looking at what was going on, and now that I know the difference and stuff, I surely do not recommend it. I don't think they have enough land on that road to put a proper easement in there. As it is right now, when I go down the bottom of my driveway to my mailbox, I have to wait for the traffic to go by, because my next step is out in the middle of that road. Now, if they bring that road up and stuff, they're taking part of my property, which nobody had mentioned anything about purchasing land, because I asked if there was going to be any compensation. And they said, well, no, all we're going to do is put the pipe through there in the location, and I would have access to that sewer if I wanted to in the future. Well, next thing I know is they're proposing a deceleration lane there. There's not enough room, there's too much traffic, and somebody's going to get killed if you put that land in there, that easement in there, I have to go across the first easement, I have to go across the second easement to the other side of the property to get out. So in other words, if I want to go left, I have to go across 3 lanes. And that's a dangerous place right there in that corner. So I'm dead set against it, and I do not think it's a right place to put a gas station in. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 4 minutes left. If there's anyone else who would like to speak in opposition or has questions, comments?
Just really quick, I would like to clarify, so the relevance of George's story to the waiver today is that the applicant is proposing to reduce the length of the right turn lane so it aligns precisely with the border of George's property. So I don't think the developers, the applicant's difficulty in acquiring land really justifies this waiver. Thank you.
We have about 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jennifer Tully. I just wanted to give my support about opposing this particular reducing the left and right lane and sidewalks and all that stuff. I don't live in that particular area, but I do travel it very often. I traveled it this morning just to see the exact location of what was taking place. And I was driving 35, which is the speed limit on that road, and it's like they were trying to push me on my bumper to go on down the road. So in that particular area, it is super, super dangerous, and I agree with all that was said. Somebody's going to get killed, and it's not going to be pretty. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we have about 2 minutes if there's anyone who would like to speak in opposition or has questions or concerns.
My name is Randy Porter. I live at 935 right next to George, coming up Cedar Crest into the curve. And I'm just here for a little bit of history. I've been there since 1992, and I personally put up 27 mailbox posts since 1992 because of accidents in the curve. I've seen a lot of injuries. What I'm saying is there's a lot of accidents that are not reported because they were not called the sheriff and all on, that happened in this curve. So what you're seeing on the report, accident report, there's actually about 3 times that many since I've been there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have about 1 minute left if there's anyone who would like to speak in opposition or has questions or concerns. Before I go back to the applicant, I will just ask my committee members if they have any questions of any of the people who spoke in opposition at this time. Okay. If the applicants, you have about 13 minutes if you'd like to address some of the comments.
Yes. So we'll start with the easement on George's property there. We approached him for the easement, for the decel lane for coming in. If you're coming down Cedar Crest to turn right into the station. It was never promised to him, but it was for sewer. His request was that he have access to sewer. And since we brought the sewer across the street, we had given him the right to attach to that sewer in lieu for the easement on his property. That was the conversation that was had with him with 5 other people present at that time. He agreed to that. So just to give you a little history there on that one. The next thing is once we go in there and we do that, we take out that berm, which will open up more line of sight down the road. So that when that berm is removed, that's on his property now, it will open up more line of sight to that direction coming in there. The sidewalk, we're not opposed to it. We will put it in now, we will put it in a year from now, whatever you guys require. Like I said, we were just now wanting to put it in just to have it ripped out shortly after. There's no sidewalk adjoining the property on either side at this time. There is no sidewalk on both sides of Cedar Crest on anywhere you go down Cedar Crest at this point.
Yes, there is.
across the street doesn't have the sidewalk requirement. And now so what we're just asking for is forgiveness for it and put it in at a later date. If the county widens the road and comes to us and says, hey, can you put the sidewalk in? We'd be glad to put it in at that point. We're just not wanting to spend money just to waste money, is what we're getting at here. But the whole requirement here is, people want to talk about these accidents like that video you just seen. That was from a right turn, not a left turn. So that is in the blind spot of the road. Opening this up and removing that berm will actually give more line of sight. We can't be in control of people that are going to do 80 miles an hour down that road and roll their vehicle. If they're going to do 80 miles an hour down that road and roll their vehicle, they're going to do it if there's a turn lane there or not a turn lane there. A turn lane is not for decel, as we all know. It's not for you to suddenly go, oh, I want to turn here and slam your brakes on, as they're trying to say. You already know you're going to stop there. You're already starting to slow down. You're getting in the turn lane so you can remove from traffic to make it safer for others. We don't see more than 4 or 5 cars ever using that turn lane at one given time. A gas station is never that busy to where it's going to be 20 cars lined up. That is all we're asking for. If anybody has any questions.
You've got a storm pipe headed out that way, I guess that's north. I guess you're gonna control that water, that storm water.
Yes.
Are you reducing the volume? 'Cause you do got a big pond in the back of your plan.
Yes, we do.
And so but there's another pipe going to the north under Mr. George's driveway.
Yes, I don't have all the construction plans with me to answer that 100%.
Have these plans been submitted through Paulding County's development review process yet?
The plan, yes, we've already put them through. One of the requirements was getting through this.
Okay.
They had a water main that we already discussed in zoning and planning when we did it there. So, my guy's going back to them and saying that was already a solved issue because they want us to extend that water main, but that water main's actually being removed at a later date. That's why they're having us jack and bore under the street to attach the water on this particular project, because they didn't want us to tap into that water main that's sitting there.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you. Have a seat. Okay, at this time, the public comment portion of this is over. I will ask the members of the committee if they would like to address these requests for waiver together or separately. Just to read them again, they are requesting reduction of PDOT recommended right and left turn decel lane, and also to waive the requirement of the installation of sidewalk along the right-of-way on Cedar Crest Road.
I'd make a motion that we take all of them at the same time.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to consider all these requests at the same time. So at this point, I will ask if anyone has a motion on these requests.
Motion to deny.
And just, there's a motion and a second, take them all at the same time. So
We
you
need to
have
vote on that, right?
need to vote on it.
Yes. Let's back up. We have a motion and a second to vote on all these together. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. We will consider these all together. So again, I will ask if there is a motion.
Motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Baker to deny these requests. Is there any discussion? If not, at this time I will take a vote. All in favor of denying this request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. The motion for this waiver has been denied unanimously by a vote of 5-0, which is unanimous, sorry. At this point, we have no other business on today's calendar, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Ms. Ashmore to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. We are adjourned.